Storm clouds moving in. Whatever's gonna happen, it's about to begin. I remember what the drunk donkey told me when he said, son, don't fear. Mike's where the page life is about to begin. Then he's gonna tell you about the wind and the rain. Gonna tell you which way it's going, if it's gonna be a hurricane. Don't you worry about the news that they try to hide. Just click on Mike's page, Drunk Donkey Nationwide. There'll always be some haters, but they don't understand that Mike's got a friend and 100,000 more across the land. Well, if you want to know it first and you want to know it right and you want to have time to plan, Drunk Donkey Nation tells your friend Mike, he's your man. Then he's gonna tell you all about the wind and the rain. Gonna tell you if it's gonna be a storm or if it's gonna be a hurricane. Don't you worry about the news others try to hide. Look on Mike's page, Drunk Donkey Nationwide. Yeah, here at Mike's page, Drunk Donkey Nation Pride.
All right, good morning, everybody. Look at that. We are back. Back home. Home is where the heart is. Anybody going to go see Twisters this week? Twisters, man. We're going. Julie bought tickets for tomorrow night. We have a Thursday night screening tomorrow. And I'm pretty excited. I haven't been to the movies. I can't tell you the last time we went to the movies. I remember going to see Ghostbusters. I've seen some since then, but I'm not really a movies kind of guy. I just remember everybody used to kick your seat and annoy the heck out of you. And well, now Julie tells me that all the theaters have like stadium seating and stuff. So I always used to buy Junior Mints though. And a lot of butter and a lot of salt. I don't know. I can't wait for Junior Mints and a lot of salt. That's what I remember. A lot of butter, a lot of salt. That to me, if the movie's good or not, I could care less. Junior Mints are probably a little more money than they used to. But yeah, Mandy's going. Awesome. What's up, Brandy? Good morning. Eric's going to go see it 4DX. Oh, God, I can't wait either, man. It's going to make storm chasing cool again. And maybe all the ones that give me so much grief about going to the storm will now say, oh, that's pretty cool, Mike. Darcel, right, yeah, tell Julie to put some candy in her purse. Yeah, I think the Junior Mint was the last time I bought any candy at a movie theater. But anyway, Louie, what's up, buddy? Let's say hi to everybody, Louie. There's Louie. All right, well, I missed everyone. We had an eventful few weeks here. We were supposed to take our camping trip, which I unfortunately mentioned in early June, and all the long-term folks said, uh-oh, you said it. Well, good thing we didn't go too far because I came home and we had to track barrel. And then we ended up going on a little 4-day cruise out of Tampa here, which was really fun. I'll talk about that here in a little bit. So, but hope everybody's doing good. Tropic's a little quiet. Don't get too complacent and thinking the season's over. We expect these little lulls in July. It happens a lot. So one thing that used to drive me crazy at movies was the ruffling of plastic bags. People would buy stuff in the concession stand, and all you'd hear would be the wrappers like, I'm like, just open the damn thing, take it. I'd be hearing that I'd be hearing the paper, and I was like, stop it. Hey, Chandra from Belize, how's it going down there? Well, yes, we had a great cruise. We'll talk a little bit about it. We're going to talk about the tropics. We're going to be live today, tomorrow, and Friday, and then back at it next week. So kind of on schedule. Shelly's getting caught up on all the new Brew Crew members, so thank you very much to all the new subscribers to the page and supporters. We appreciate it. All the Cat 1s, all the Cat 5s. You guys and gals are great. We really appreciate it. It takes time though to process, so be patient. Hope everybody got to swing by their local ABC Fine Wine and Spirits while I was gone and enjoying this summer. Great supporters here of our page. We appreciate them very much. And located all throughout the state. They're Florida grown just like yours truly. And I believe they were founded in 1938, and they are still family owned and operated. Same year as my dad, 1938. So my dad and ABC have a lot in common. But we appreciate the support and what they do for me and my family. We really do. We have a lot of great supporters. We were on a cruise. Here's a picture we took. We were on the Margaritaville. It was a last-second decision to do that. Totally had zero expectations. I will say that. We're usually cruisers on Royal. Not a big Carnival fan. But, man, we were absolutely thrilled with everything about this cruise. I know it was like the fourth one out of Tampa. It's a renovated ship. Had more of a Florida Southern vibe, a little more music, a lot of Jimmy Buffett, of course. So if you like Jimmy Buffett, it's the best. But just, I don't know, man, it was just great. The atmosphere, the renovations, it was just, man, I just loved every little spot of it. I mean, it had great shows, the food was good. I just, I don't know. They had a lot of bars, they had music. I totally expected nothing, and I was really happy. Took a picture here. This was a real picture I took in the middle of the Gulf. We had Saharan dust. You could see it all day, milky, and you have a moment, a split-second moment when the sun goes down to capture a sunset, and that is real, that was incredible. So that's why if and there are a lot of people that posted on this post of mine almost exactly the same photos from Texas to Florida to Louisiana. It was amazing. It was the first night. So, man, it was pretty cool to see that in action. It was a good trip. But anyways, a Margaritaville Islander, highly recommend. And the crew was fantastic. They gave our family a bridge tour. They reshared a couple of my social media posts, so it was pretty cool. But anyway, Texas, somebody just chimed in from Texas. They're still got 50,000 plus without power. Let's look at this real quick. I got a lot of screens open, but, obviously, still recovery there. I mentioned it the first night how bad it was. And we still have 56,000 without power. Those folks now going on over a week. So a lot better than the 2 million plus, right? With that storm system went through Indiana, Illinois, Iowa a couple nights ago. It was a derecho, and it was bad. We had 100-mile-an-hour wind gusts a couple times recorded. And we saw people without power in Indiana, Illinois right there. 82,000 in Illinois. That's a few nights now. That storm system continued to move eastward yesterday, and we had a lot of folks in the New England area, New York, Pennsylvania, Delaware, Rhode Island, New York, dealing with power outages. So it's been a pretty stormy couple of days, man. These derechos ain't no joke. They're pretty bad. But Texas still dealing with power outages, obviously mainly where Barrow went through. the lower southeast side. They're not really showing up on the map here, but this general area. Pretty crazy. Here's what it looks like currently. We had some storms across the upper Gulf, so if you're waking up this morning, we actually had some thunder across Texas, all the way across the Florida Panhandle, lightning a little bit in the Carolinas. So there's your morning storms in the Big Bend area, a little bit of stormy action. Nothing organized, obviously. It's not a frontal line. It's just a little bit of Gulf energy backing up towards you as the sun comes up. Here's the storm map for today. Those storms continue eastward. That same system that brought you 2 nights ago, the derecho, last night and today. We have storms today. The Northeast has had a lot of storms. Yeah, born trespasser. You know, I my Android automatically, enhances. But if you look back at my comments, there was a ton of pictures that had the same look. It was a really weird night, and you got to have clouds to make it like that. You got to have because just no clouds, it's milky. It's not really orange, but popcorn. Yeah, Shelly, we're talking about popcorn. Shelly. So let's talk about Incredibles. Morning, Christina, YouTubers. So hey, listen, we are streaming live, YouTube, X, Facebook, and of course our MWPchat.com page. Morning, Harold. Good morning, Tova, Boca. You're welcome. Lance from Corpus Christi. Storm went a little to your north. Cindy Norman, good morning. Joanne from Lake Worth. Deborah, good morning. Sunset by Sal. Brunswick, Georgia. I know where that's at, Christy. Hot. Reed Bullet, good morning. Brooksville, T-Bone. Hey, we're heading back to Newberry this weekend for another softball tournament. Last one of the year. Getting kind of sad. Kimberly, Bahamas got a little juice coming this weekend. You got a little tropical wave rolling around the high I'm going to show y'all. Nothing organized, but could be a little increased rain for you. The Bahamas. Adam, yep, we're going to talk about the tropics first week of August coming up. Ben Chapman, good morning. Welcome back, James. Good morning. Yeah, I was so happy to get back. A lot of hundreds yesterday. Jason, you passed me. Did we not talk, Jason? Were you on the same cruise, Jason? Did you not talk? Did we not meet up? I met a ton of people there. We could have talked transmissions, man. Yeah, Laura, we're going to talk about North Carolina. We're going to talk about the Carolinas here real soon. You got the big weather coming is Carolinas. Nothing stormy. Got hair on my damn chest now. Hey, look what the girls bought in the gift shop. Christmas in July. Look at that. They bought that on the Margaritaville. Look at that. They're already in the Christmas spirit. Santa Claus on a pair of dolphins. I thought that was cute, so I grabbed it to show everybody. It was pretty cool. Christmas in July. All right, there's storms today. A couple other things that got popped up here. Rainfall. All right, so Carolinas, they talk about the Carolinas. All right, so what we got going on? We got a couple things to talk about. Everybody's chit-chatting about a cold front coming down. It's going to linger with another one coming down early week. So we got some cold anomalies coming to the middle part of the U.S. 50s up north. 50s. 50s! So we got this cold front. This is rainfall through Monday morning. And we got a lingering front that's going to bring juice across southeast there, minus Florida. Florida's getting their normal rains. But look at that heavy concentration of rains in the Carolinas. They need it. They're in a drought. Both Carolinas. A little bit in Virginia. And we got a cool, tricky little tropical wave that's going to be coming around that's currently nearing the islands. It's going to wrap around that Bermuda High. And we're going to talk tropics here in a little bit too. So not meaning to not talk about that. But that's your rainfall through Monday morning. Here is what I just mentioned. There's a tropical wave entering. There's your Lesser Antilles. This little guy right here, believe it or not, is going to circle around and get pulled up and bring some rains, maybe to Florida and the Bahamas the end of the weekend, and increase the rains up into Monday for the eastern seaboard. So we'll keep an eye on that little guy. No models are showing development, though, so that's good news right now. No models are showing development with this little guy, but we're going to talk about it. We're going to show you. I want to show you the precipitation map, how it's round in the bend here. High pressure is the big story. Hunter, that high pressure is strong. Keeping that flow west. So here's that anomaly map. I thought this was a cool map I found today, right? So the blues are colder than normal. The reds are warmer than normal. And the pinks and... Hey, Hunter, stop scratching. So what we're seeing here, this is like Tuesday. I think this is Tuesday. We are seeing cooler weather across middle U.S. And look at this, cold front. So this big old area here in the middle part of the U.S. is going to be cooler than normal here the next week plus. And we got 50s in Minnesota and Wisconsin. We got 50s dipping down into Montana, into Oklahoma. We got 50s in Arkansas, it looks like. So it's going to be chilly. Not going to make Florida. Sorry. But that's kind of been the chit chat. And if you go to these climate maps here, we got, you can look at that too. This right here. So your 6-10 day outlook shows you anomaly maps here, and you can see that your temperature outlook in the next week way below normal. Unfortunately, above normal for Florida. High pressure dominating, building that heat dome across the Florida peninsula. Boom, cold. Also, if you go to the longer range map here, 8 to 14 day, and it remains for maybe 2 weeks. So back-to-back fronts, BOGO fronts. This is important when talking about the tropics, because frontal lines pull, open doors, allow weaknesses for anything down here to pull northward. And if you think back to what we saw with Barrel reacted to a front line that almost very similar, and we tracked that quite a bit with these frontal lines. And Ian had a lot of fronts that year, and I specifically remember mentioning many times kind of what I'm doing now. If these fronts remain and we keep getting these fronts trying to dip south, if anything were to develop, they're going to have an easier chance to get turned and not go due west into Mexico's bottom line. And so Barrel kind of did that. And now we're seeing another couple pair of fronts coming down. So that's kind of interesting. We'll keep an eye on that. Hotter than normal here in Florida. Another map you want to look at here. Oh, we can look at the sunset again. We'll just leave that on as we want to chit chat. But this is a long-range tropics or a hazard map here, and look at that. A little bit of Georgia and all of the Florida peninsula. Hazardous heat this weekend, 719, 720. Here's that lingering front, 719 to 722. But hazardous heat, a lot of rain, 719 to 722. Lingering front, tropical wave, and hazardous heat. So it's a guarantee when I post a hazardous heat map, the comments come out. And I know it's hot. I know it's Florida. I don't know what designates hazardous heat. Heat index is a big thing, obviously. But hey, I don't make the graphics, okay? I just share the graphic. So anyway, that's that. Frontline heat. Let's see what else we got. popped up here. I do have this. This is your tropics update. Obviously, things are quiet for the next 7 days. Could be quiet into August. So we look at this every morning, 8 a.m. Eastern, 2 p.m. Eastern, 8 p.m. Eastern, and 2 a.m. Eastern. They update this. So they don't expect anything to pop up in the next 7 days. Doesn't mean at 2 o'clock we don't get a circle. It just means 7 days from right now. From 8 a.m. to 2 p.m., 7 days now, there's nothing. But if they think something could pop up, they'll update it at 2 o'clock. A lot of the reason is this. This is a dust map here. It's really cool to look at. Tremendous dry air coming across, Barrow was able to find a little pocket of dry air to the north without a lot of dry air out in front or behind. And if you remember, Barrow had leftover front line here that it pulled in moisture from. PV streamer, I think, officially is kind of the direction of what that's all about, but that's a science all on its own. But it had a frontal line that fed into it, and we really didn't have much dry air wrapping around it. Now we had Invest 96 that was behind it, and it ingested a lot of this heavier dry air around it that actually really helped it not take off. So Barrow was able to find a little window, even though we had a lot of dust. But anyway, here's dust coming off of Africa, and it's fascinating. It gets picked up by the strong winds, and it's carried across the Caribbean. A lot of these winds help upwell some cooler water too. But currently there's a lot. Now this dust historically is a big thing. July is very slow. Very normal. However, it's very normal for the dust to stop once the rains in Africa begin. The rains down in Africa. Toto. Which ironically they named the dog in Wizard of Oz, right? Toto? Was that the name of the Wizard of Oz dog? Toto? So, Wizard of Oz, tornado, Toto, Africa, band named Toto, talk about African rains. So we're all like the circle of life. All right, so there's that. So there's really nothing. You can see this big, strong, high pressure out here. I tell you the big discussion. A lot of guys that I kind of mingle with on X. This high pressure system is strong, and as this thing remains strong, then everything's going to flow around it, and this is what we're already seeing. High pressure strong, things go west, and if this thing remains strong throughout the season, it's really going to drive systems, unfortunately, around. And it happens. We talk about anomalies in years like we're seeing, but this high pressure dome is huge. Like Ryan Mayhew, which I'm a subscriber to on X, he talked about it, and it's one of the largest high pressure domes he's seen. So pretty hard to penetrate that high pressure system. But we are seeing signs that we might be seeing something. Mainly, a lot of this is historically. Now, this model is actually picking up actual models. I haven't really seen any models yet. We're going to look at them. But anyway, this map's getting a little colorful. Starting to see maybe a wave popping in off of Africa. This got updated yesterday. It's Tropic Hazards Outlook map. It's wrong about as much as it's right. I haven't really found a lot of faith in this one yet. But it is highlighting an area of 20% chance basically that we could see a wave trying to get going here the first week of August. Nothing here this next week. So I don't know if this is based on his history, historically, just everything is lining up with conditions this season, with the water being hot. But you can take it for what it's worth. But there is, official NOAA saying we could start to see a wave trying to get going. And if we look at the long-range dust maps, historically, we do see things starting to let off a little bit. Actually, NASA. I don't know the difference, but this is where we're at now. Huge plume of dust. Look at that. That is massive. You don't see those colors. Normally ever see that many oranges and yellows, man. That is nuts. Incredible amount of dust in the air. And it's going to reach the northern part of the Caribbean, Virgin Islands. Look out. Oh, my God. Today and tomorrow, massive dust approaching. And that's going to make it all the way. That's a lot of dust, man. It's going to be making Texas here in the 24th. So, what about this time? Tuesday, Wednesday next week? That's crazy. And that brings heat, too. Trust me. Hot helps with the hot. So, anyway, a lot of dust. Dust in the wind. Matthew, correct. Matthew says, based on the latitude line, you can almost guess where they're going to go on the strong high. Correct. So when that high pressure gets set up, you kind of know it's going to ride. 10 degrees is kind of the number. Sometimes they can, sometimes when they're below 10 degrees, they tend to go west, but they get influenced more by the upper level winds of the Bermuda high around 10 degrees. I've seen them as low as 8 degrees actually ride that high. So this year, being a stronger high, more than likely we'll see some coming off a little lower and riding that high around, which also avoids some of this dust. That's kind of what Beryl did. Hey, Marie, going to Alaska? You going on a little cruise? Never been to Alaska. That'd be kind of fun. Good morning, Sherry Brown. I'm back. Never really went anywhere. Do I think the Gulf will stay calm through August 3rd? Well, too far to know. There's nothing showing right now. How about that? A lot of lightning, Ryan. Correct. Yeah, we saw some lightning down there on the ship, man. It was incredible. All the people were talking about it on the Margaritaville. They were like, oh, my God, you see that storm last night? I went and looked at radar. It was a very isolated cell. Looked like it was off of Cuba, South Florida, overnight. It was pretty. I put a video online. Anyway, there's a dust map. What else we got? Let's talk about Colorado State University. So this came out last week, in case you missed it, earlier last week. So Colorado State, I know, Colorado, what the hell, man? What the hell do them guys in Colorado know about hurricanes? Well, they don't get storm surge in Colorado. They must know something we don't know. Put it to you that way. But thank you, Matt Wilson. Thank you, Patricia. I'm always going to be here for you. But anyway, Philip Glossback is very smart. Colorado State has a big meteorology department, tropical meteorology, so they're pretty smart. But they ain't backing down. They increased their seasonal outlook. So, wow. Thank you, Harold, on the video. Cindy, you too. Appreciate it. I think I fell asleep after I did it. I think I got woken up by one of the crew members. Oh, good morning, Miss Nancy Powers. So anyway, they increased. So whatever. So we got 22 more named storms officially, according to them. That's incredible. That's a lot of storms. 22. I mean, 22 times. I got to update the website, the app. Talk about 22. That includes the 3 we already had. Okay, includes, believe it or not, we had a storm named Chris. Nobody even knew about it. Chris came in around 2 a.m. and he left around 5 a.m. He had 15 minutes of fame. We had Alberto, a weak little system down there in the BOC, and then, of course, Beryl. So 3 systems. They expect 22 more storms. 5 majors out of those 22. So they still expect, out of those 22, 11 hurricanes and 5 majors. So that's incredible. We'll see. That's going to be a lot of activity come August if that verifies. But, you know, historically, based on what we're seeing with La Nina and wind shear and water temperatures, oh man, I mean, I kind of believe it. 22, man. Mark, we love you too, man. Hilton Head, what's up? I might get my way up there. Carolinas have not had much at all. Stuff that I like. Well, thank you over there on YouTube. Appreciate that. A couple of things I noted yesterday I posted was this right here. The vertical wind shear. Hey, what are you doing? I thought he was scratching. Come here. You're very hyper today. You're looking for Sarah. So this is an interesting graphic. This is your vertical wind shear. It kind of just shows you, obviously, wind shear decreases historically. August. So this is August, September, October. So that was your peak months right here, right? Obviously. Obviously, that's because storms do better with less wind shear. Wind shear is the amount of upper level wind. Hey, we haven't showed this much all year. This would be a great time to show my toy. So storms like to grow upwards, right? When a storm can grow upwards, it can get stronger and become almost like massive tornadoes. That's what a big hurricane kind of looks like, just a huge tornado. Well, I always show my little Fisher-Price toys right here. This is my little guy. I love adult toys. These guys represent the jet stream. This is my 250 layer, 500, 700, 850, and 1000 millibar. So here's your atmosphere. And when you don't have wind shear, storms can rise and vertically stack and become strong. Like all levels start spinning together and you get this incredible storm. Well, when you have wind shear on the upper levels, it actually hits our storm and starts to skew it. And all these little guys now are becoming not stacked. And you get, you know, I need to be an octopus and I can have a lot of hands here. But anyway, basically everything gets blown off. You know, if it's southwest winds, everything gets shoved off to the northeast. And you heard terms like naked swirl. That's when the upper levels get detached from the lower level. Lower level swirls aren't affected by upper level winds, but upper level winds take away that convection and you lose this structure. So anyway, I always thought I was cool. But anyway, less shear, where we're averaging right now already, showing you that storms have a better ability to strengthen once everything else lines up. You can't have shear from cold fronts. You can't have dust. But once everything lines up, this is one big factor, and this wind shear is showing a lot lower than normal right now. Another thing that's fascinating to me is looking at our ocean heat content maps, and this is Brian McNulty's website. And what really kind of sticks out to me more than anything, where Beryl was right here. This is the amount of water, power in the water, fuel basically. And the more heat below the surface, the more fuel. Not always sea surface temperature. A lot of this is the heat under the surface. And sea surface temperature was definitely impacted by Beryl. You can see your 7-day change is really coming back. God, I wish I would have snapshot this. I wonder if I could go back. I bet you if I email Levi, I could get it back. But Yeah, anyway. We saw a path of cool water from Barrel, and it was blues and whites, basically, all the way up to landfall. And this water was a 7-day map change showing you that over the course of 7 days, this water cooled down quite a bit in 7 days. Well, this is a fresh one. It's different than the one I posted yesterday. I actually posted one yesterday that was less, that showed more blue than this. So the conversation is this water bounces back fast, the sea surface temperature, and it's already really warming up where Barrel. Barrel was a really tiny little system. It moved very fast. But the ocean heat content is that hot water below the surface, and that's what fills back up once that cool water dissipates. So this is kind of what we've been tracking all year. You know, last season, January, this line here, the darker kind of maroon line, that's last year's heat content line, 23. The blue line is your average of 2013 to 2023. So it's a pretty recent map back to 13, the average. So what stood out this season more than anything is our water temperatures have never really, they've always been running parallel to the average. And that's been very interesting. So one thing we talked about back in, January, February, March was if these waters start to merge and become average, well, then it's not that big a deal to be talking about. That was my talking point. Well, hot in March is one thing, but what does it mean when it counts? Well, we saw that with Beryl. It definitely meant a lot. Beryl was your strongest hurricane ever into June and early July ever. Farthest east ever. So it fueled off of these warmer waters. So when Beryl formed right here, that water temperature was normally what we would see the first part of September. Now, we did have a pretty good little drop in ocean heat content in this region right here where Beryl was. But it came back quick. And so today, July 17th, is exactly right back where it was before Beryl. So now we got to really watch what happens this next week. Does it continue on this path? Because right now, these temperatures are where they normally are in almost middle September. So the big question mark is going to be what happens. Now, last year, look at these water temperatures in 2023. 2023, we didn't really have an active season. We had Idalia, which wasn't in that region I just circled. That region I just circled is your Caribbean region. Beryl, Idalia last year formed kind of on its own little deal here in the Gulf of Mexico. So last year, all this activity here, very little here, and that was because of El Nino winds pushing our Bermuda High retreated a little bit, and we had a lot of activity out here. Well, this year we don't have this. This year we have this area now dominated here. We're going to see more storms doing that and feeding off of that. What we did have last year, though, I always want to remind people, we had a hurricane called Lee. Lee was one of the fastest intensifying systems ever in the Atlantic last year. Lee was powerful, like overnight, rapidly intensified, like most we've never seen. Lee, though, didn't have any steering currents to allow it to go any farther west, so Lee became forgotten because it really wasn't that powerful. And we had two major hurricanes that year. We had another one. Lee was right here. Lee actually went up to Nova Scotia. It was that brief time here. What was this little guy? I forget this little guy here. Idalia. Franklin. There's another one called Franklin. I don't remember Franklin too much. But point being, we had major hurricanes last year feeding off that fuel. That's the point of what I'm getting at was this. Last year, we had this heat in the ocean last year that Lee used but it didn't hit anybody, so nobody remembers that. Unfortunately, now this year we have signs of, here's 05. 05 had, you can argue, very little activity here because we had a lot of activity here, especially down in the Caribbean, feeding off of that warmth. Very busy year in 05. La Nina. We go to 2020, La Nina, and we had very little activity out here, but a lot of activity here. Again, kind of influence of a stronger Bermuda high. Now, the reason we still get stuff out here, we get occasional cold fronts and stuff, and they, but my argument this year more than ever is storms that normally recurve are now going to be close. Hunter, stop scratching, dude. What do we pay all that money to the vet for? Vet bills. Ugh. But anyway, what we're going to see is we've already seen it this year. A flow to the west. Wheat goes west, but then we had barrels. So we're already starting to see signs of an 05-20 season with this push off to the west. And that was something we talked about for months leading up into this season. All right, what else we got clicked up here? There's my sunset picture. There's that. We talked about that. What else I got loaded up? Okay, the cone. I wanted to talk about this. Let's slow down a little bit and get a feel of what everybody's talking about. Weather-wise, I don't know. Kind of went over all that. Nothing's really major breaking to talk about weather-wise other than Carolina rains. Oh, I did want to show you this, though, real quick. This is kind of cool. This is that tropical wave we talked a lot about. You can see it very well here in Tropical Tidbits. Look at the European 24-hour rain maps. So we have a tropical wave currently out here. Now watch this thing round the corner here. Not organized. Just, and what's fascinating here, look at this. Look at the high pressure system here. You can really see it. This wave. So it's just kind of an idea of what's going to happen this season, with systems. And here is that wave currently that's going to be near in the Lesser Antilles. Let me go faster here. You can see it. It's right here. Kind of hard to see there, but it brings juice across Puerto Rico. This is Friday. There's that lingering front across the East Coast Saturday, but here's that little tropical wave. Hey, Hunter. And it pops up Bahamas here Saturday, Sunday. This is that little wave. And then it curves up, maybe bringing some rain to Florida Sunday, Monday. And then it kind of wraps around that high pressure. So just kind of focus on this right here and watch it. It's really cool. Look at that. And look at that high pressure just dominating and everything going around it. Isn't that neat? I think it's neat. GFS kind of showing similar. There's that wave right here. See the wave? This is Saturday, Sunday, and it kind of just, GFS has a little bit more into Florida before it wraps around that high pressure system. So no development. Development-wise, let's look real quick. Some ensembles. I haven't seen anything in the ensembles to talk about, so it's kind of silly. Yeah, I'm looking at you. Tropical Atlantic. There you go. These look at any possibilities. Development-wise, 5 days out, not even one spaghetti. I mean, and the Pacific is the biggest story right now. The Pacific is absolutely shut down, which is very rare right now. The Pacific usually has storms by now. 7 days, really nothing. I mean, there's nothing to even talk about, even 15 days. This takes you to August 1st. Remember, one little random out of, there's 51 members. So, you look for consistency there. GFS ensembles we can look at. Kind of look at Atlantic here and look at stuff here. And we go out 5 days. Nothing. 7 days, nothing. 10 days, nothing. Even the GFS is like non-existent in 10 days. So if we get 22 storms, it's going to be a busy couple months. for sure. Jamie, great question. Why can't hurricanes go through the high pressures? Well, they're like I always compared high pressures and low pressures like magnets. So when you get a big high pressure dome, the magnet kind of, you get two opposing magnets. They just bounce off each other, right? So high pressure domes usually set up and they wiggle, they wobble, but there's such a strong, and they spiral clockwise, the winds. So tropical systems counterclockwise. So when you get a counterclockwise spin, high pressure spin, guess what? Everything pushes that tropical system. And they ride around that high pressure. And the high pressure is everything. What we saw last week with Beryl, we had a front coming down. Fronts can push the high pressure away a little bit. And Beryl found a weakness, they call it, where that front was coming down, and it actually kind of helped ride a little more to the east as that high pressure retreated a little bit, and they go around. So, I mean, historically, all your storms, if you notice, most all your storms always curve, Coriolis effect. It takes a rare situation to have like a Harvey where you have a high pressure like this that's in place. And these are usually more like this, and they slide eastward. So eventually, you find weaknesses. But, what we saw with Sandy, we had a low pressure, we had a high pressure, and a high pressure. And Sandy was coming up, and this was racing this way, and this was racing this way. And with Sandy, some of them, every time I say Sandy, I'm thinking of John Travolta. Sandy! Come here. Come here. You just standing there. Come here. Come here. Come here. Hunter will sit there and stare at you for like 10 minutes before he decides to come see you. Come here. Come here. Well, with Sandy, the models were confused, and we had half of them going this way and the other half going that way because they did not know where this high was going to be. Well, the high came in and basically blocked Sandy, and it had nowhere to go, but it turned. High was kind of developing here too, and the low was here, but that was a blocking pattern with the Bermuda high coming across, low pressure sliding out, and it was a race between that high. And I remember we talked about Sandy. I was live there, and we were talking about this race with this high pressure system. Some models had it going out, some having it turned, and that's what was very frustrating, but very important for preparation because that chance was always there. And I don't even remember what the archive. Let's see if we have archives in Sandy NHC archive. These are the old green style, by the way. All right, so here's the old graphics archive. These are old. Let's see what it looks like. This is awesome. History in the making right here. All right, so let's go back. So originally, stop. All right, so here's the original thinking. This was on Tuesday, October 23rd. Come here. Come here. And it looked like it was going to curve out to sea. Here's Bermuda. Looked like it, right? And it didn't. And we started seeing, modeling start to turn, obviously, once they saw that steering pattern was going to happen. And there you go. And there was a lot of debate that storm because at the time it was supposed to transition into subtropical system. And the NHC didn't report subtropical system watches and warnings. So they stopped issuing watches and warnings, which was very weird because look, we had tropical storm watch in yellow, right? and it stopped. There was nothing. So there's kind of confusing because we had a subtropical hurricane going to make landfall, but there was no watches and warnings. And then I think they passed something. See, they stopped right here. Hurricane, tropical storm warning. We had nothing in the cone. No watches or warnings. I mean, that's so weird. We had a hurricane approaching, and there was not any. I mean, obviously local, offices take over, but that's when they stop that. Subtropical systems now get watches and warnings because it educates people a lot better. Just weird. That's so odd. Like, tropical storm warnings all the way down to Carolina, but then this is considered subtropical, so there was no watches and it was so confusing. But anyway, there's that. Anyway. Vanessa, yeah, there's a lot of people that think that Barrow was an extremely strong Cat 1, me being one of them. Morning via flood. What's up, Katie Haley? Katie, you got to go into Margaritaville. I'm telling you, it was a pleasant surprise. We got a junior suite because it was so much cheaper than Royal that, and it was big cabin, huge balcony. I'm ready for the next chase, Mr. Johnny. Were you on the bridge, Johnny Weaver? Oh yeah, my boy Johnny. You inspired me. The Corkscrew Bridge in Sargent, Texas. Probably one of the most. So listen, I'm not going to debate the Cat 1 thing. People still call them. First off, I did my one rant for the year. Shelly, don't let me do it again, please. And my buddy Sean at ABC, I always text him because he told me years ago, don't do it, and I do it anyway. And he's like, you can't stop. I'm like, I know I can't stop, but I got to give up reading comments. Sorry, because they are not good for your health. But to me, it was one of the strongest storms I've been in. I can say that. It was just different, Maybe it's because I was on the coast. Maybe it was because the winds were more surface level. It was an intensifying system. I could feel my ears popping. I'm not making that up. The damages where I was at, you had significant roof damages. You had RVs on their side. You had RVs flattened. You had, so it was, you had 5, 6, 7, 8 feet of storm surge. It was pretty powerful Cat 1, when you see significant roof damages and roofs ripped off, that's pretty strong winds, So anyway, it was pretty powerful, and it was intensifying when it went north. When I took that drive back to Houston, I could not believe the amount of trees that I saw. 2-3 foot diameter trees on the ground, blocking roadways, like that's scenes that I've seen in major hurricanes. Like big trees on the ground crossing roads. I mean, so yeah, it was powerful, and to have utility poles snapped in half in Houston, that's pretty far away from landfall. We had tornado, record number of tornado warnings, 203, I think, tornado warnings. It brought 44 tornado warnings in New York. Highest single day tornado outbreak ever for New York was from Beryl. So every storm's different, It was, and again, surface winds are different than winds aloft. I mean, the Hurricane Elsa here in Tampa Bay, we were under hurricane warning. I don't even remember a tree blowing. We were under hurricane warning. Every storm's different, and that's just the uniqueness of tropical weather. I mean, every storm. Brad, what's up? So there you go, man. You got, send me that, can you, buddy? Mike's weather page at gmail.com. I'd love to see it. 70 Stokes, what's up? See, and we got a lot of locals saying the same thing. Vanessa, I agree. I'm not arguing with the NHC ever. Trust me. This one had a lot of power, and I believe, saw it with Ida, strengthening storms on approach are way worse deeper inland than a weakening system on approach. And this was a deepening low pressure system. 979 pressure is pretty low. Winds might not have caught up officially, but usually in the past, the old Saffir-Simpson scale here, 979 could be on the high end of a Cat 2. Could be. So, and 6 to 8 foot of surge. There was areas that they thought they might have had more than 6 foot of surge. So it was, whether it is, whatever. The damages are what they are. I mean, Sandra, 100%. A lot of the problem with tropical systems are the eye wall is so intense, you get so many tornado warnings. Sometimes you can't distinguish the difference between a tornado warning and the winds themselves. So they have verified quite a few of these tornadoes, by the way. I think they said it could be the second highest tornado outbreak since Ivan. Even though we had warnings, didn't necessarily mean we had on the ground. But I have seen now that some of the reports are coming out that they're confirming quite a few of these things. So there's 53. I don't know if these are confirmed or not. But anyway, here's the path of Beryl. 53, 15, 10, and then none. So, a warning really is a severe thunderstorm regardless, because you see the winds. And but, that's what got me in Perry, was a tornado embedded in the eye wall. So... Brad, good question. Not a lot of thunder and lightning. I typically don't see thunder and lightning. It's weird. I don't know the 100% reason for that. I really don't. Over water, you get the lightning and intensification over water, but usually you don't get the lightning at landfall. It's a different type of energy. It's ocean driven. But yeah, you typically don't get a lot of thunder and lightning in the eye walls of storms. So no final report yet, Stephanie. I used your tagline, "Heart of the Season," the other day. All right, so three images I posted. I want to round it out. We're going to be live tomorrow on Friday. I don't want to run out of things to talk about. Hunter finally stopped scratching. That's a good thing. The cone of uncertainty. So let's go to Beryl. So I put these out. I simply took the wind graphic from the National Hurricane Center and embedded it in the NHC cone. This was taken at 4 p.m. Friday with landfall expected. Obviously, it was more earlier Monday, but basically 2-3 days away. So the whole point of this is just to show you how I've been noticing every storm lately. We have to watch outliers. We have to understand what the outliers mean. The outliers for Beryl was clear as day. Half of them went north like it did because of a stronger system. The other half went west because of a weaker system. Beryl never got weak. It crossed over a flatter part of the Yucatan. It bounced back quick. It never lost its structure, never lost its circulation, and it came back quick. So it rode the higher end of models, which are now influenced more by upper level winds. We had a front coming down. It was very obvious this front was coming down. It was stronger than every day. This front was getting stronger and stronger and stronger, meaning there was more of a weakness. Stronger tropical systems are respond more to upper level winds. Ian is the prime example of that. We had a front coming down. For some reason, the GFS didn't see it. Thought it was just going to keep going straight north, and guess what? It reacted and curved and turned. That's stronger systems do that. You got to go by gut and history, and Beryl always had that possibility because it was not a weak tropical system. So the black line here is the actual track that it took, which is in the cone of uncertainty. So the point of these three graphics is to never stop paying attention, especially outside this cone, but for sure the eye wall gets the big winds usually, obviously, but it was on the outer edge of the 3-day cone. Now, what's important with storms like Beryl was we saw this trend. I posted before, people don't like it, but trends are your friends. And we saw this north trend. So that would put your focus on that north cone and the effects way outside the cone. Because as our system went that way, all these storms wrapped around, tornado warnings through Louisiana and Oklahoma and up into Arkansas, because of the east side of the storm. So pretty amazing that Barrow was riding the outside edge. That's the final track, 3 days out. Another system, I went back and looked, was Ian. Just 2 years ago. Not even 2 years ago. You would think where we're at, we would be less shocked by these changes that we're seeing, but we're not. The cone is the cone. The cone is anywhere it can go. But public perception is they look at the center of that cone. Most media outlets put the center line of that cone. So the cone is what we all look at, but we all look at that center line. And here is barely 3 days out, 2.5 days out. This was 8 p.m. on Sunday. It made landfall Wednesday. There's the 3-day cone. 5-day cone, 3-day cone barely touching Fort Myers area. But the cone was extended northward. And most folks focused on that. The black line here is the actual track that Ian took. Extreme edge of the NHC cone. Extreme edge of that NHC. I've talked about this out the yin yang, but it's amazing to put that overlay to show where the track was 3 days prior and where it ended up going. So 3 days out, Sunday. So Sunday night, let's say you're looking at this cone Sunday night. Storm is making landfall Wednesday in Fort Myers area. Sunday night, you see this, and you're probably thinking, I should do one for Charlie too, but I just threw this one together this morning before we went live. Incredible, right? Another one that really stands out for me was Irma. Irma was 17. A couple days out, the cone here barely touching the Florida West Coast. Very tight, showing southeast Florida landfall. But here's the track. It rode the outside edge. Just a few days out. So if you're looking at Tuesday, you're thinking, or Thursday, you're thinking, it's going to go right here. But no, guess what? A couple days later, there's your final track, and it went way to the west. Now, this storm was different. We were tracking a different scenario. Notice the date, September 7th. We didn't have a lot of cold fronts in September 7th, okay? So cold fronts don't dig very far south. We had a little weakness come through before that, I'll never forget. And this high pressure was over here, and a lot of the models were depicting this thing. Heck, the first Euro had it missing the East Coast altogether, Florida at least. But common sense, 17, there weren't a lot of cold fronts that year. We had a strong high pressure that year. Every update, this high pressure got stronger, 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 to the point that Irma wasn't going to turn on a dime. This high pressure was building back in, and every update, guess what? It went farther to the west, farther to the west, farther to the west, to the point that, and look what it did here. Remember how we always talk about storms have a natural tendency to go back northeast? Well, that year we had such a strong high pressure that it actually dominated so much of the upper part of the East Coast, it actually turned it a little bit around. This high pressure was so strong that year that it actually blocked the normal, because we didn't have a front. We didn't have any weakness around that high pressure that year. So that was a tricky storm, but, it was because the high pressure built back in. And I remember talking about it back then, like man, this thing's building back in. This thing's going to keep chugging west. And we saw outliers doing that. And outliers were your friends because we saw a trend of a more west tick before it rounded that high pressure system. So I'm going to do Charlie too. I'm going to do that one down the road. But it just the theme this year, and it, I didn't talk about it enough with Barrel because maybe I did a lot. Maybe I did because I had a lot of compliments. But my theme this year going to this year was the messaging was going to be, when you're 2 or 3 days out, we need to really look at these outliers. We need to really look at this cone because history's showing us 2 to 3 days out, it's not going to follow the center line of that cone. And Burrow did the same thing. It did not follow the center line of that cone, and we had outliers showing basically where it hit as a stronger system. So that, Burrow did everything that we've been seeing lately is, expect the unexpected, if that makes sense. And yeah, anybody can Monday morning quarterback, but longtime followers know that we've tracked these storms enough now that I can say with certainty that we talked about these scenarios, and I don't feel like I'm fibbing at it at all. So anyway, hey, I shared a post this morning. I got a lot of great supporters of the page. It's obvious, a lot of local companies, friends of mine. Done Right Roofing is a friend of ours. They sponsor softball here for Palm Harbor University. And they're in the Tampa Bay area, and they have a great blog on their website, and I shared it this morning. But, if you live in the Tampa Bay area, you need any type of roofing, give them a call. They're great people, family-run, family company. I met the sons, and they're big fans of ours, and they do a lot for our area. But they do have a great blog, and I read a lot of it this morning about securing your roof before a storm. And it's very, it's worth the read. Done Right Roofing here, but their blog is incredible. Lots of great information. Tons of blogs, but I think it was on page 2. Right here, how to secure your roof before a hurricane. And I'm telling you, man, there's a lot of great information on here. So anything you need roofing, they're good friends of ours. So give them a call if you got a leaky roof before the season gets here. You don't want to be dealing with it once they're busy fixing hurricane damages, that's for sure. So anyway, that's it. Here's a radar, a little bit of action, lingering front, bringing some juice to the Big Bend area. My friends up at Steinhatchee, not Steinhatchee. A funny story. Funny story. Let me pull up a map here. So I've lived in Florida my whole life, and I've drove up and down US 19 my whole life, and we would pass these signs for all these little cities. Never really knew them. Never really paid attention to them. Drove through them. But with Idalia, after we passed through Crystal River, you start seeing these little cities. And you got Cedar Key. You got all these little towns. We should have one right here. Where's Port Inglis? I think this is Inglis, but it runs out here. See Yankeetown. All these areas were really affected with Idalia surge. Yankeetown, Cedar Key, obviously, Steinhatchee. And I drove and went to all these little towns, Cedar Key, and got to know all the folks locally. There's Swanee. Of course, Steinhatchee. So the funny story was, I'm not going to be able to see it here, but because of the storm clouds over top here. But we got Horseshoe Beach. That was another one that was really affected with Idalia. I tried to drive out here, but all these little towns were underwater after Idalia. There's Steinhatchee there. Of course, there we drove through Keaton Beach, which is here somewhere. It should be right here. Keaton Beach. I believe there's Keaton Beach right there. Doesn't come up, but Keaton Beach. Where's Beach Road at? There's Keaton Beach. So we drove on this little road here called Beach Road. Oh my God, that was scary. We had trees falling down, and we were trying to get to this road right here to get the heck out of there. Then we drove into town and went to Perry. But so the funny story was when I was on CNN there with my friend Erin Burnett. She's a big supporter of us and appreciate all the free press she's given us over the years. I couldn't remember these little towns. I felt like an idiot, and I'm like trying to remember them all, and I kept calling it Steinhatchee. So I remember doing an interview from our park here, our Eels Park, by myself. Everybody's busy. I'm a one-man band. I had a tripod, put my phone on it, and I brought a piece of paper, and I put it on that tripod, and I drew all the towns in order. Keaton Beach, Steinhatchee, and I wrote Steeen. I was like, say it right, because I got corrected so many times on my feed, and I wrote them down because I didn't want to forget anybody, and now I know them like they're family to me because I've met so many people. But I wanted to make sure I got the names right of the towns all the way to Crystal River, and I remember making that piece of paper so I didn't look like a bigger idiot than I normally am. So, all right, cool. Well, we'll be live tomorrow. We'll be live. I'm gonna look at Charlie Sue Hausman. Yes, gonna do that one. Thanks, Shelly on the backside. Like I said, appreciate all the Brew Crew members. We're gonna be getting all that caught up here. Lambs wants to know the model track. I'll tell you what, the Icon did really well. The H-Wharf did really good. H-Wharf and H-Mon. So that was, people know that I love the Icon. Hey, Judith, how's Texas? But right now there's really nothing to talk about. I don't see anything on the horizon, so doesn't mean something can't pop up. But as of now, things are quiet. So I'm going to go see my brother. See how he's doing. And we'll be live tomorrow. As always, I'll tune in at 2 o'clock on the old page here and see if anything pops in there. But things look kind of quiet right now. So good news for that, right? All right. So that's it for me. We're going to keep the Brew Crew live for a minute. And everybody else, we'll see you tomorrow.